Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen.
Hi everyone, and thanks so much for joining me. Today we are going to work on presses. So pressing things out, pressing things up. Why this is so important is because it helps us with daily activities. So we're going to focus on presses that target the upper body as well as some that'll work the lower body. So pressing, think of pushing motions, rolling motions. We're strengthening the muscles of the chest and the back, which support the shoulder. I'm a guide dog user and I'm very one-sided, or if I use my cane. And if any of these muscles are not strong, I can suffer injury in another area. So my chest and my back help support that shoulder. And strengthening both sides creates balance. And we need balance to prevent injury and to keep us strong. So a push or a press helps with pushing and pulling. So even if you're pulling something behind you, or moving things, or transferring yourself from one place to another, these are all great exercises to keep you healthy and fit. All right, we're gonna get ready to get moving. But speaking of moving, I had somebody message me the other day and asked about the timing of exercise. Is there a best time of day to exercise? Now that's gonna vary for all of us because we're all a little bit different. I am an early bird. I like exercising or working out early in the morning and then maybe doing some yoga in the evening. That is personal preference. But for the majority of people, if you exercise too late before bed, you're gonna have a little bit of trouble sleeping because it raises your core temperature, and having that cool down in time for you to get a good night's sleep can make it a little tricky. So play with it a bit and find out what time of day works best for you. But speaking of core temperature, we wanna rise that with this warm-up. So this can be done standing or seated. I'm gonna stand up and we're gonna work on warming up the shoulders. So standing or sitting with nice tall posture, letting your arms hang down at your sides. I'm gonna bend the elbows. My palms are facing each other. I'm gonna bend the elbows to about 90 degrees. So that means your wrists are about in line with your waist area or between your lowest rib and your waist. You can have your palms open, so your hands open, or make loose fists, and we're simply going to squeeze our shoulder blades together. So think of drawing those elbows back as you squeeze the shoulder blades together, like I've got my finger or a pencil between your shoulder blades, and you want to squeeze it and let that go, keeping the arms, your elbows bent. And squeeze and release. This will warm up. Squeeze and release those muscles for those pressing motions. Squeeze and release. You'll feel a bit of a stretch in the chest. Squeeze and release, and two more. Squeeze and release. Let's hold this last one a little bit longer because it feels good. And squeeze and release. So you might even feel a little bit of heat in the back. So I want you to try and think of that same arm position that you had. So those elbows are bent, your hands are about waist height or between that low rib and your waist. And we're gonna open them out to the side. So you're gonna imagine you've got the handles of a skipping rope in each side. So this can be done seated, or you can do this standing and add the leg component. We're just gonna start with the upper body motion. So you're gonna make circles with your arms, okay? They can be as wide as you want, as high as you want that skipping rope to go. And you can give it a bit of speed, not too much yet because you want those shoulders to warm up. Okay, so you're rotating that rope. Now, if you want, you can add that hop as if you were actually skipping over it, okay? So that's not a mandatory part, and hopping over that rope, and now you can pick it up, either arms or both. I'm gonna switch back to just the arms, okay? Getting those shoulders nice and warm. So there's an option to increase that cardio, and I'm gonna let it go. My shoulders are starting to feel nice and warm. So from there, I'm gonna show you an upper body and a lower body we're gonna hop over a snake. So you can do some arm swings, and seated or standing, you raise them up to the sky and you're gonna swing them down at your sides. And that can be combined with this hop that we're gonna do. So you can work on the arm swings, or to my right side, there is a giant snake, and I really don't like snakes. Snakes and spiders are not my thing. So I'm going to step over the snake that's on my right. So I'm gonna step my right foot to the right side, stepping over the snake, left foot over to meet the right, stepping over the snake, and then back over again to the left and bringing that right foot to meet. Now you can step, you can do the arm swings, or you can hop over this snake. So I'm gonna hop over the snake. I'm My balance is not so great, so I probably just stepped on the snake. Now, if you want, you can combine and add those arm swings when you hop side to side. Keep hopping or swinging those arms. This gives you a bit of coordination as well, which is always good. And 2 more hops. Whew. Good job. So you should start to feel that blood flowing, your breath increase, your heart rate increase. And imagine doing that right before you went to bed. You might feel a little bit energized, which is the point of exercises, to give you a bit of energy. So I don't know about you, but I'm going to grab a drink. So grab a drink and you can join me after the break to get into these exercises.
Get ready to exercise healthy at home with Bobbi Janzen. We'll be right back. Let's exercise healthy at home with Bobbi Janzen is back.
All right, we're gonna work on some of these press exercises. This first one actually reminds me of mowing the lawn. People always know when Bobbi has mown the lawn because there's often giant spots of long grass. Why do I do it? Because I actually enjoy mowing the lawn. So it's using some of those similar muscles. We're gonna start either standing or seated, nice and tall posture. So think of your belly button being in and up slightly. Your back is nice and tall, like a stack of Legos or a stack of Jenga perfectly stacked. Your arms are at your sides. You're gonna raise your arms straight up out in front of you, about shoulder distance apart and shoulder distance or shoulder height. Turn your palms facing down. Now, this can use dumbbells or water bottles or soup cans. I'm gonna make light, gentle fists so your nails aren't digging into your hands. Now I'm gonna think of pulling back. So I'm gonna draw my elbows back, keeping them at shoulder height, pulling them back behind me, bringing those fists towards the chest. Now imagine you're holding a bar with those hands so your knuckles remain facing forward. Push that bar straight out, bring it back to your chest. So this is me in the lawnmower, pushing it out straight and back to your chest and press forward. And as you bring it back, think of squeezing those muscles of the back and back and forward. So you'll see how the warm-up links to the actual exercises, and pull it back and press. Think of those elbows pointing backwards behind you and pull and press. And we have 2 more. Pull and press. And last one, pull and press. So you'll notice some of the exercises we did in the warm-up help prepare these muscles for these particular movements so they were nice and warm already. So we're gonna go into set number 2. I'm gonna just grab my dumbbells. My arms are at my sides, palms facing the outside of my thighs. I'm gonna raise my arms straight up in front of me, turn my hands so my palms are facing down. Remember, you're holding onto that bar, or imagine you're holding onto dumbbells so your fists are pointing straight forwards. We're gonna pull those elbows back behind us, keeping those arms at about shoulder height, and press and pull. What's your core doing? And press and pull and press. Bring it in, press it out. You've got one more to be halfway, haha. Bring it in, press it out, bring it in, press it out. 3 more, and in and out. Think of squeezing the back and opening that chest. Pull it into the chest, push it out, and 1 more, and in and out. So I'm simply going to set my dumbbells down. So varying how you're holding your arms, how wide they are apart from your shoulders, that's going to vary the part of the chest that you are working, and we'll talk more about that in a couple exercises here. So let's get ready for your next set. Shake it out if you need to. What has happened to your core? I think I've let mine kind of relax, so I'm just going to think of bringing that belly button in and up, so nice and tall. Shoulders are down your back, palms are facing your thighs, arms straight down at your sides. Let's raise them straight out in front. Turn the palms to face the ground. Now imagine gripping that bar, or even I could use my white cane for this one. They are shoulder distance, shoulder height, and we're gonna pull those elbows back. So pull them back, working the chest in the back, squeeze it in, press it out. So think of squeezing those shoulder blades together. Bring it in and bring it out. Bring it in and bring it out. Squeeze it in, squeeze it out, bring it in. This is your halfway point, and out and in. Bring those elbows back, press it out, and in, and out, in, and out. You have 2 more. Bring it in, and out, and last one, in, and out. So shake it out. Now, speaking of using a white cane, can you actually use that out in front of you? Yes, you can. I've also used a broomstick just to keep my arms at the right kind of level and to give me resistance that is a little bit less than my dumbbells. So there's a few different ways you can do that. We are going to head into a 1-arm row. Now we're training one side at a time here. You're going to notice one side is weaker than the other, or at least it is for me. My right hand is my cane arm and my left hand is my guide dog arm. So they have different strengths. One gets used sometimes more than the other. So we're going to train each side to try and develop it separately, but work together. So seated or standing, I'm going to bend slightly at the waist. So pressing my hips back slightly. My knees are just a little bit soft. They're not locked. Otherwise, you can sit up nice and tall in your chair. Let your arms hang down at your sides. What are your shoulders doing? Let them relax. Your posture is still nice and tall. Now, I'm going to make a gentle fist or use my dumbbell. My palm is still facing towards the outside of that thigh. Now I'm going to draw the elbow back and I'm going to squeeze into those back muscles again, just on the one side. So your other arm can just be at your side, or I'm going to place my left arm on my hip because for me, that feels good for balance. And I'm going to pull that elbow back behind, squeezing into one side of the back and working one side of the chest. Take that arm back to its starting position and pull it back and bring it down and back. And bring it down and bring it back and straight. Pull that elbow back and straight. We have 4 left. Bring it back and down and back and down. Pulling it back and down, and 2 more. Bringing it back and down and back and down. So shake it out. So what we're going to try to aim towards is you want to try to do about 3 sets of 8 to each side. If you find that that arm gets really, or shoulder gets really fatigued, so really tired and a bit tight, you can switch between sides because we're going to do the same thing to the other side to still get those 3 sets per side. I'm going to stay working my right side. This is set 2, so I'm setting up again. Now I'm going to draw the elbow back behind me and bring the arm back down straight. And pulling it back and down, back and down, pulling it back, get a good squeeze, and down, back and down, back and down. 3 more. 3 and down, bringing it back and down. 1 more, back and down. Now I know sometimes my mind wanders when I'm exercising, which is a really good thing, but it's easy to lose count, but it's even easier to lose form. So make sure your form is proper. So you want to keep that movement nice and controlled. Don't be swinging things around so that we have no injury within the muscles and the joint. And plus we get a better workout. Let's go into set number 3 on this side, bringing that elbow back and press it down. Bring it back. Let that arm go down slow with control, and back and down and back and down. Imagine this air is thick, back and down, or you're moving through pea soup or yogurt, and back and down, back and down, and 1 more here, and back and down. So I'm going to shake out that hand, kind of move that shoulder around a bit, and I'm going to switch sides. So same thing to the other side. Okay, so I'm going to hinge slightly at the hips, nice tall posture. Now your head, this is a big one here. People like to look up towards the ceiling. I want you to keep your head in line with your spine so that your posture stays in alignment. My left arm is down at my side, my palm is facing my thigh. If you're doing this seated, you might have to accommodate your shoulder being out or your arm being out a little more just for room, and that is completely fine. I'm going to make a loose fist or use a dumbbell and do the same thing to the left. Pulling that elbow back and bringing that arm down. Back, squeeze that back muscle, and down, back, and down, and back, and down, and halfway here, back, and down, back, and down, and 3, and down, 2, pull it back, and down, last one, back, and down. So speaking of mowing the lawn, that's what this does make me think of too. We have an older lawnmower, and for me to start it, it takes a lot of pulling. So this pulling motion is and it probably is the same amount of reps that we're doing for me to get that darn thing started. This is how it kind of translates to training a muscle for everyday life. Let's go with the next set. So set up again. Shake it out beforehand if you need. You can grab your dumbbell if you want and bring that elbow back. Squeeze between that shoulder blade on the one side and down, back, and down, back, and down, back, and down. This is your halfway. Back, and down, and 4, and down, 3, bring it back, and down, 2 more, and back. Make sure when you pull that back, you've got a good squeeze so you can see why we warm those shoulders up, and down. So set up again, nice and tall. I'm going to hinge at the hips. If you're seated, you can stay sitting up nice and tall. Engage that core, head in line with the spine. And we're going to pull that elbow back. So I'm on my left side here and down. Bring it back and down. Don't forget that squeeze at the top and control to bring it down. Back and down. This is your halfway point. Back and down. Pull it back. Squeeze and down. Pull it back, give that squeeze and down with control. 2 more reps and let's try and do another whole set as we head into the break. I'll have more exercises coming up.
Keep moving. Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen will be right back. Back to the exercises on Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen.
I'm going to head down onto the mat, but I'm also going to provide you some seated options for the next type of press exercises that we're doing. So I'm going to slowly make my way down to my mat. So we're going to work on a glute press. So we did that chest press to our very first exercise. To start was that chest press where we had our arms straight out in front of us and we pulled back into the chest. We're going to train that one-sided if you want to do a seated version of this exercise. So you would take your arms down to your sides, bring them straight up out of the shoulder joint, palms down. Now I'm going to just drop my left arm. Imagine you're holding a bar just with your right hand. You're going to grip that bar or your dumbbell and you're going to pull that elbow back, keeping it at shoulder height, squeeze the shoulder. So you've got tons of shoulder work today, so we'll make sure we stretch those out. So that will be your upper body modifications for what we're going to do here for a heel press. I'm going to come onto all fours in a tabletop position. So that means your hands are palms flat on the mat, shoulder distance apart and directly underneath your shoulders. My fingers are spread, not super wide, but they're spread a bit and I'm not pushing into the wrists. I'm kind of dispersing the weight through the hands. So my pointer finger and my middle finger point directly in front of me to the wall that's in front of my head. My feet are flat on the floor and my knees are beneath my hips. I am exactly like a table. So if you were to balance a glass of water on my back, hopefully it will stay. So even though you're in this position, your core is very important because you're going to move your leg. And your core is going to control the movement as well as your glute muscles, so your butt muscle. So keeping your left leg bent or moving on to that upper body one-sided press. Keeping that leg bent, we're gonna bring our heel to the sky, the sole of our foot to the sky. So I'm raising that leg. It's about hip height with that leg bent. And I'm gonna push the heel or sole of the foot to the sky and lower it down a few inches and press it up and lower it down. And up, or that one arm press and down. Up and down, up and down, and 4 and down, 3 and down, 2 and down, and 1, and I'm going to come back to that all fours position and down. You're not feeling it in your butt, you need to press up just slightly higher. And if you're feeling it in your low back, you're not engaging the core. So try engaging your core a little more and making the movement smaller. It's not about the size of the movement, it's about the quality of the movement that counts here. Now there is one way to kick this up a little more, and you can actually put a dumbbell, a light dumbbell or a water bottle in that crook of your leg that's pressing up, so behind the knee. I recommend something very light if you're going to try this. So a water bottle to start. Just make sure the lid is on tight. All right, so I'm working that same side. So same side arm press or same side with this glute press. So I'm raising that leg. My knee is still bent. The sole of the foot is to the sky. And I'm going to press up, pressing into that butt muscle. So press up to the sky. Imagine you're kicking the ceiling with the sole of your foot and press and release. It's just a few inches up and release, up and release, a few inches down, press it up, release, up, release, up, release it down, and one more, release it down. So we're going to swap over to the other side. So lots of times I would like to do, like I said, 3 sets of 8. We've done a lot of shoulder work today, so if you have been training the arms, we don't want to overwork those. Plus, if you're in the tabletop and are still getting used to that position, lots of times we put that pressure, like I said, towards the front of the body. So we want to keep this movement just a little shorter. So I'm moving to the right side or to my other arm or my other leg. It does not matter which side you start as long as you do both. So keeping that leg bent, I'm lifting that knee up. That foot is flexed towards the ceiling. I'm pressing to the sky with the sole of my foot. And press and squeeze into the butt, press, press up and release slowly down, up and down a few inches, press it up and down, up and down. We'll go for 4 and down, 3 and down, 2 and down, press and down. So if you've been working those arms, shake them out. Now, if you've been on all fours and you need to shake out the wrists, go ahead and do so. We're going to do that same side again. Now, it can just be a few inches up and a few inches down for the glute press, but you want to make sure that when you lower, it's not just a relax entirely. You're doing that release with control. So let's do this second side for a second set of 8. Okay, so keeping that knee bent, bringing that leg up, and I'm pressing up into the sky. My head's in line with the spine, and release it down slightly. Press and lower slightly, press. Lower slightly, press. Lower slightly. It's like I'm kicking someone that's behind me, up. But they're up in the sky, up and release, up, release, and 4. Lower slightly, 3. Lower slightly, press it up and down, up and down, and one more, up and down. So I'm releasing it down. Shake out those arms, whichever variation you're doing, because that can be really, really tough stuff. So another type of press that we're going to do is that same motion, but it's going to be a leg raise. So your upper body or your seated variation is going to be a straight arm raise because it's going to be a straight leg raise. So to do the arm raise, I'm going to be sitting nice and tall. My arms are going to be down at my sides, my palms facing each other. I'm going to do this, bringing my arms straight out in front of me, turning the palms down. Now I'm going to drop my right arm. I'm just going to let it go. And we're going to focus just solely on one side at a time. So I'm going to make a gentle fist. My fist is facing forward like I'm punching the wall in front of me. My arm stays at that shoulder height, but then I lower it down at my side again. My palm is facing down. And I raise it up shoulder height and lower it down. So you're training one side at a time, which we're going to do with the legs and the butt muscles as well. So there's your seated option. So I'm going to come back down into that nice tabletop position. Hands beneath the shoulders, knees beneath the hips, fingertips pointing forwards. My palms are flat on the mat, tops of my feet are flat on the mat. So if you're getting ready to do arm raises, get set up, nice tall posture. If you're on all fours, engage that core. Now think of the last motion we did. This time we're doing the same thing with our leg straight out. So I'm gonna extend my left leg straight behind me. The top of the foot is still facing the floor. And I'm gonna raise it up. Now you don't wanna raise so high that your low back feels this. You want it in the back of the leg, the butt, and the core. Yes, your back will get worked, but it shouldn't get worked with any pain. So here we go. Raise it up, and I'm lowering down to just hover above the floor. If it touches, that's okay. Raise that foot up, toes remain pointed, so it's raising up, lowering down. Straight leg raise, up and down, up and down, and up and down. We have 4 more on this side. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Let's go for 2 more. Up and down and up and down. I'm going to come back into my tabletop so you can release your position and get reset if you're doing the arms, but we are doing the same side. So we're going to do 2 sets of 8 on each side for these. All right, here we go. Working that same side, so get your arm ready, get your posture ready, and if you're in all fours, watch where your head is. It should be in line with the spine, your neck should be in line with the spine, but often we try to look up or look way down. It's very important that it's lined up. I'm extending that left leg, or get your same arm extended and ready to raise, and press it up, lowering it down. Try to just hover up and down, up and down, up and down. Here's the halfway point. Raise and lower, raise and lower, raise and lower. 2 more. Raise and lower and raise and lower. So shake it out. So I'm just going to shake out my wrists, roll them around. So you can do that if you're seated or if you've been in this all fours position. And I'm going to come back down and set up for the other side. So if you're using dumbbells for your arms, switch sides, switch dumbbells, switch arms. So I'm swapping legs, same thing. So check your alignment. And what has been going on here? When you raise that leg, do you feel like you're gravitating to one side? If so, try and keep yourself centered. So just notice what's happening within your body at all times. If you're doing that arm raise, are you feeling slightly off balance? Is your core activated? So I am taking my right leg out. Toes are pointed behind me. I'm trying to keep my hips level here. Okay, so my leg is straight and I'm raising it up to the sky and lowering it down. Raising just so I can feel that butt muscle work, your gluteus muscle, and up and lower, up and lower. Here's your halfway. Up and lower, and 4 and lower, 3 and lower, 2 and lower. 1 more. Raise and lower. Good work. So we've got 1 more set on this side. So we're gonna just shake it out a bit, get set up, and get ready for your last set on this side. Coming onto all fours, I'm gonna extend my right leg back. So working that same side. So get your arm ready for your arm raises. Shoulders are down the back, no matter which variation. Toes pointed back for the leg lift, and raise it up and lower, up and lower, up and lower, up and lower. Here's your halfway. Raise and lower, 4 and lower, 3, raise it up, lower, up and lower. 1 more, up and lower. Shake it out. So good job, everyone. Make sure you grab a drink of water and join me to cool down.
Keep moving, healthy at home with Bobbi Janzen. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen.
All right, let's stretch out those muscles that we've worked. I don't know about you, but my shoulders and my chest could really use a good stretch. So this entire cool down can be done seated. I am sitting cross-legged on my mat on the floor. You can sit in a chair, whatever works for you. And some of these can be done actually standing. So they are very portable for however you want to go about these stretch. There's one that can even be done laying down, and I will go over that, actually two, which is really nice. So you've worked hard, so basically we're gonna give ourselves a big hug. So start with your arms down at your sides, raise them straight out in front of you. My palms are facing each other, my arms are about shoulder distance apart and shoulder height, but now simply cross those arms across your body, grab onto the opposite shoulder, just give yourself a big hug. Take that stretch here, and if you wanna round your upper back a bit, drop your chin towards your chest. Really get into that upper back. This one feels so good. Now I notice by feel for me that my left arm is the one that's on top. Or my right arm is actually the one on top. So I'm gonna swap arms on this next one. So I'm gonna let go and I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm gonna change the cross. So my opposite arm is gonna be on top. And if you mix it up, it's okay, because this is just about getting a good stretch. So I'm crossing across the body, touching those shoulders if you can, and getting that really big hug, and you can round into that upper back if you like. Breathe nice and deep, because that helps these muscles to relax and to stretch and to cool us down, is utilizing that breath. And now I'm going to relax. So that one without the back arch so much can actually be done lying down. If you're really tight in the shoulders and want to do that to start your day from a lying position, guess what? You can. All right, so winter is not my favorite time of year, but I do enjoy making a snow angel. So this is essentially a seated upper body portion of a snow angel. So you can do this also lying down, standing up, or sitting like I am. So your arms are going to go down at your sides. So this is getting a little bit more into the muscles of the back and working those shoulder blades, getting a stretch in there, because we did work into there. Think of inhaling your arms out to the sides, bring them up above your head. Your head can simply follow the movement if you wish. Don't worry about what direction your palms are facing, and lower them back down to the sides and down. So it's like you're sweeping them up, out to the sides and up overhead, out to the sides, up overhead. Get a good stretch up at the top. Your fingertips are reaching towards the sky. Sweep them down. Let's go for two more of these. This feels so good. Inhale, rise those arms up, and on the exhale is when you're going to bring them down. So I'm going to bring those arms down, sweeping them out to the sides, making a nice big snow angel. One more. Bringing those arms up. This is getting right into the chest even, and down. Nice. So we're basically going to do I'm going to call it a one-sided forward fold. I'm sure there's a more technical name, but I'm ready to relax here, and that's what's coming to mind. If you're seated in a chair and you want to do this single side forward fold, think of rotating your body slightly towards the left leg and folding over the left leg, and then we'll do the right side. So you can take your legs straight out if you're seated on the floor. I'm in a slight V, so not super close together and not in the splits. So a comfortable seated position with my legs out. I'm going to rotate the body towards the right leg slightly, and I'm going to walk my hands out. So I'm bending at the waist and thinking of folding over the right leg. My feet are just relaxed. Don't worry about your feet here. You want to stretch into the back. Breathing nice and deep, and we're going to come up and we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Rotating slightly, whether you're seated or out on the floor like me, and folding over that opposite leg. You can walk your hands forward. Your hands can be on your thighs, your shin. Never press on the knee or the ankle joint. And you can relax down. So make sure today that you drink your water. I'm going to come up out of this movement. Stay moving, stay motivated, and stay with us for more health and wellness tips.
Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen will be right back. We're back with health and wellness tips on Healthy at Home with Bobbi Janzen.
I'm here with Michael Hewitt today, and we're surrounded by all these beds. I'm here in my very favorite onesie with flowers on it. I believe it's gray and pink, and we're in a mattress store to talk about all things sleep. Michael, can you tell me a little bit about what exactly you do?
Sure, Bobby. I'm a pharmacist with the University of Saskatchewan College of Pharmacy and Nutrition. We operate a program called the Medication Assessment Center, and one of the services we provide is called Cognitive Behavioral Therapy for Insomnia, or CBTI. And that's a service that just helps people to establish better sleep habits and practices in their life.
And who does not want to sleep better? So I'm guessing there's a huge connection between your overall health and wellness and getting a good night's sleep.
Yeah, that's very true. Oftentimes people who are struggling to sleep well maybe aren't getting enough physical activity in their day, might be using certain substances like caffeine or nicotine too close to bedtime, maybe are using things like their cell phone or tablets in bed. All of those can kind of contribute to poor sleep.
Well, I think I might be guilty of one or two of those things.
Many people are, yeah.
Oh my goodness. So can you give me an example of some tips for just overall better sleep habits?
Sure. So we generally encourage people not to drink caffeine after lunch, especially if they're quite sensitive to its effects. And sometimes there are sources of caffeine that people maybe aren't aware of. Certain sodas, chocolate's a big one that people don't know. Certain types of tea can be caffeinated. So always make sure you're looking at the product label before making that choice as to whether that should be your evening snack or drink. Again, talking about things like devices in bed can be a really, really big detriment for a lot of people sleeping. So avoiding any screens at all in the bed or bedroom and keeping that area reserved for sleep and maybe a few other activities as well is usually the best. And even in the hour before bed, you kind of want to avoid looking at anything bright that might be sort of projecting that light into your eyes.
Oh, a whole hour. Well, that's really good to know. With devices, how about music?
Music is something where it can kind of go either way for people. Some people are quite stimulated by music and it makes them want to, get up and do things, whereas other people, it can be a more soothing thing for them. Probably the type of music can play into that as well. So I would probably suggest certain types of heavy metal maybe aren't the easy listening people need to kind of ease themselves into bedtime. But that can be very specific to the person. So whatever relaxes a person would be, I think, suitable for that.
Now, I know it is something that I've had the question is exercise and sleep. I know they must have some connection, and if I don't sleep well, I don't really want to exercise, but also if I exercise too close to bed, I don't sleep well. So what can you tell me with how I can manage that?
Sure. We do know that if people aren't getting enough physical activity, they're not really making themselves as tired as they might be overall. But as you stated, if you're getting a lot of physical activity closer to bedtime, you're also maybe not doing yourself as many favors because you're working yourself up, you're making yourself stimulated, you're getting that heart rate going. So if you're going to be doing physical activity to try and improve your sleep, we would probably suggest doing that earlier in the day, certainly before supper if possible, but maybe limiting it to 2 to 3 hours before bed, just again so that you're giving yourself enough time to kind of relax and wind down.
Okay, good to know. I might have to rethink some of my my timing choices. Now, you mentioned insomnia. Is that the only condition you deal with, or can you provide advice to anyone?
Certainly the bulk of the people that we provide that service to are people that are struggling with chronic insomnia, but there are some people who are facing acute difficulties in life or challenges in life that are having difficulty sleeping, and that's often how chronic insomnia starts, is people are having some difficulty in life, whether it's starting a new job, new baby, perhaps someone they know has passed away. That stress often causes people to have difficulty sleeping for a short amount of time, but usually that gets better. Sometimes people then develop compensating habits though, like napping during the day, trying to spend extra time in bed to quote unquote catch up on sleep, and those can make insomnia become more of a chronic condition.
I know my daughter always says, I need to go catch up on some sleep. Or is it just a phrase?
I think it's just a phrase that's never really been validated or proven scientifically that people can actually kind of refill the sleep bank, so to speak. And actually trying to change your habits so that you catch up, so to speak, it can actually be detrimental to long-term sleep health just because you're sort of changing your habits or routines. And we know that the people who sleep best tend to be those that have a pretty good routine that they stick to every day.
So speaking of routine, I love routine. What would be the top 3 things you would tell me that I should maybe look at doing to have a better sleep or better quality of sleep?
Sure. As I said, consistency is very important. So sticking to a regular bedtime and wake up time, if possible, is always going to be encouraged for people if they're sleeping poorly. Again, limiting anything that's going to be quite exciting for a person in the hours before bed. So whether that's physical activity, whatever your hobbies are, we want to encourage people to wind down their day as they're approaching bedtime. And then oftentimes unaddressed mental health concerns can be a huge contributor to insomnia. So if people have any concerns about their own mental health, we would always encourage them to speak to their healthcare providers about how best to manage that.
With mental health, because it is a huge component of our overall wellness, that must feed both ways. If we're not sleeping well, our mental health might suffer, and vice versa?
Correct. And as you said, it's sort of a two-way street in that way. Oftentimes people, especially if they have quite severe anxiety, will have difficulty sleeping because they get very anxious when they go to bed, and then that difficulty sleeping becomes a source of further anxiety because as they're trying to sleep, they're having difficulty, and that makes them anxious, which then perpetuates into the next day and the next day. And so if they leave that unaddressed, that can be very difficult to overcome.
That's like a stack of dominoes. Oh boy. Say I wake up in the night. This has happened on occasion. Is there anything that I should be mindful of?
Yes, it's very common for people to wake up in the night. That's quite common. And one thing that people have difficulty with sometimes is falling back asleep. And we usually say that if you're unable to fall back asleep within 20 minutes, the best thing to actually do is get out of bed and go to a different space in your home. Because if you lay awake in bed, you're sort of training your body to expect that. Oh. And by removing yourself from the bed or bedroom, you're sort of breaking that habit or that cycle.
I have learned so much. I'm going to put some of these tips and tricks into practice. Thank you so much for your time today, Michael.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Produced by Honeycut Studios. Host Bobbi Janzen. Accessibility consultant Sierra Roth. Narrator Charlene Young. Special thanks to Sleepers Mattress Factory. Integrated Describe Video Consultant, M. Williams. Content Development Specialist, Jim Crisco. Supervising Producer, Jennifer Johnson. Manager, Programming, Lisanne Gagne. Director, Content Development and Production, Karen Nye. VP, Content Development and Operations, John Melville. President and CEO, David Arrington. Copyright 2023, Accessible Media, Inc.
An AMI original production.